Okej, nu har vi ett nytt bolag och det kommer vara via Zoom. Warm welcome Zenith Energy and CEO Andrea Benedetto. Please start your presentation and I will get back to you on the Q&A session.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
I am Andrea Cattaneo, the CEO of Zenith Energy, a company listed in Stockholm since the 7th of October in Spotlight Exchange. And we are making a presentation today on the 25th of November to Aktiedagarna. Next. The company is an international energy production and development company, and its identity is to acquire and develop undervalued assets with strong cash flow. As you can see, we are present at the moment in USA with the listed company called Leopard Energy, and in Italy with our most important activity, uranium, and then the second important activity, solar, and then the continuation of our oil and gas production of electricity from natural gas. The market cap of the company is approximately $27 million in SEK or in NOK or in GBP. We are listed in the London Stock Exchange main market with the symbol ZEN, in Oslo, in Euronext Oslo with the symbol ZENA, and in Spotlight with the symbol ZENA SDR. We are at the moment having 548 million shares admitted to trading in all these three markets. Next. The history has been founded by a group of entrepreneurs, including myself, in 2007. Is a company listed, as you have heard, in London, Oslo, and Stockholm. And next. The company has proven regularly able to strike very important deals, buying cheaply very important assets. The first one was in 2013 with the complete acquisition of Mediterranean oil and gas, Medoil, full portfolio of Italian assets producing natural gas. The company sale was made in such a hurry by the seller that was foreseen to pay 2.5 million euro to us in a negative consideration. This was supposed to be a portfolio of end-of-the-line field making gas, and we are able to continue production for many years, in some places still today, after 12 years, and above all, to take the field of Torrente Cigno, which we transform in a production of electricity buying equipment from German company Deutz. In Tunisia, equally, we went during the COVID, and between March 2020 and November 2021, we were able to buy 4 different Tunisian oil fields from different sources, from important companies like the number one in China, China National Petroleum Corporation, and from other mid-size international operators. These fields were producing at the end above 1,000 barrels, only the portion of Zenith, so an important amount. This was completed in 21. The invasion of Ukraine brought our oil and our production every day to a very high value because of the oil price strike above $110 per barrel. Unfortunately, a few weeks later, the Tunisians thought that it was more appropriate for them to sequestrate everything. Zenith reacted by initiating 3 arbitrations for a total value of $633 million, and the final case will be judged soon in April 2026, and the claims are $573 million. Next. So, what is the company today? We have the exclusive Italian rights to 2 existing mines, the only mine in Italy, having large deposit of uranium. The quantity of uranium that is perceived to be there from the period in which the tunnels were drilled between 1960 and 1985 is between 5,000 and 7,000 tons of uranium 2038. The amount of value at the price of today is $1.2 billion. And this uranium is finally designated as a critical raw material under the EU CRM Act, and then offer obviously a very interesting support to the nuclear station of Europe that they may lack in future suppliers from outside our continent. The exceed arbitration of which we spoke, the third arbitration is $573 million, which is a claim which has been extremely well documented. The case has lasted 3 years. The case of ICC1 has proven that our legal concept is perfectly valid. In fact, we have won an outstanding victory in the first arbitration. And the arbitration represents the single largest near-term catalyst because, of course, engaging us to a claim of, or a result of a claim of more than $500 million, this will create a strong cash reserve in the company to progress in the other activity we do. In the meantime, our industrial karma has been manifested this year in the creation of a portfolio of 110.5 megawatt of renewable capacity of producing from solar park, which are underdeveloped or ready to build. Next. The uranium. Next. So the uranium is manifested by two mines, which are the Valvedelle and Novazza, which are the only known uranium deposit. We have a large historical resource base, which we have said, 5,000 or 7,000 tons as a minimum maximum, grading 0.07 to 0.1, which is an extremely important grade, one of the highest we see down in the table, and the value is $1.2 million. So $1.2 billion of uranium at the price of today. We are suspected or expected to grow further as it's becoming a rarer and rarer essential material. The pathway definition is quite clear. We have got the exploration license admission as a request, and now we have to pass through environmental impact assessment, which is to the Ministry of Energy Security and Environment. Typically, these are completed within 8 months from now. And then, of course, our activity of uranium is designated as critical raw material under the 2024 EU CRM Act. Next. The economic potential you have seen is $1.2 billion, and at the same time you see that the calculations are here very clear at the spot price of today. Next. Market cap is a very modest $27 million in respect of the strength of this deposit. I remind you that we are speaking about deposit, not about expected quantity or some estimate. And we have other qualification. We have access to the EU funding because being uranium a critical material, there will be a lot of encouragement and cheap financing or even financing without reimbursement to support our project. And then Italy is one of the countries that doesn't permit at the moment nuclear station activity, but this may change under new laws that are introduced. But our target is not to make a nuclear station. Our target is simply to sell uranium to the neighboring state, which they have approved nuclear station activity, for example, France and Switzerland. Next. These, to be very clear, are the design of the 25 kilometers of tunnels that have been drilled between 1960 and 1985 in the two mines that we control. Next. This is the second mine. Next. As you can see, the quantity in Valvedello and Novazza are important. They are not as big as some other quantity around the globe about producing fields that are the largest in the planet. But at the same time, this field, the largest in the planet, they are not in Europe. And then, being not in Europe, Europe may remain in demand of a critical material as uranium, for which is important to see the deposits that are within the border of European Union, as we are. We have as well another deposit which is at the exploration level, so is supposed to be in Sweden, which is the Viken in Sweden of uranium. Next. So the strategic context of what we do, it is clear. We have tremendous attractive material, and the important thing is the broader geopolitical context. Uranium, of which I have authored a book that will be for sale within 20-25 days in Sweden, in Swedish and in Sweden, in Swedish language translation and in Sweden, is a very rare material. After the World War II, there was in Soviet Union a very important geological study, and then as well in North of America. This brought to discoveries of important deposits in Kazakhstan, a part of USSR before, of Canada and Australia, so that together they have 65% of the world output. There are as well very important quantities of uranium in Africa, but some of the countries, for example Niger, have become extremely unstable after a coup d'etat, and they don't want anymore to supply, for example, France. So then it's becoming a strategical material, and the ownership of the material can become, with the years to come, extremely more valuable than what is already today. Next. We have already spoken about the great advantage that we have very high concentration. Italy, of course, a G7 economy and the EU member provide a very stable respect of law and in respect of other suppliers of the same material. Next. We remember that one of the catalysts of the stock, which has brought the stock to be extremely more valuable between 2 and 250 NOK, so not far from 2 to 250 SEK, and has reached then a market cap of around $100 million in the months before the outcome of ICC2, which we will briefly describe in a second. The first one was an outstanding victory with the 6.1 of claim and the 10 million circa with the interest that are running every day, executory right to pay that we can enforce successfully any moment against Tunisia. Next. Unfortunately, in our case, there has been an accident of ICC2 in which we have been subject to a fraud. And so at the moment we are fighting this fraud with the annulment process, which is being initiated and well advanced. We will report as soon as we know more from the Cassation Court in Lausanne, Switzerland. And instead, the claim for the most important one in Washington, a very important institution called the ICSID, the World Bank, which is owned by the World Bank, as the website name suggests, and hosted in the building in Washington of the World Bank. This is $573 million, which will be finally discussed in Washington on the 20th of April 2026, and expected sorry for the misprint, and then expected as a result in September 2026. Next. We have already discussed about the fraud of 2020 of ICC2 in 2025, so we will get the results. And next. So the 573 is extremely well supported by two important organizations that have made the claims after months and months of study. So we are very comfortable that if the discussion comes only about the evaluation, our evaluation criteria will be recognized as extremely right. Next. The team that we have is a stellar team, including the most famous arbitrator of France. I remind you that this arbitration being made against Tunisia need to be made in French language. So in Paris. Next. In the meantime, we have grown a portfolio of 110 megawatt of potential production, peak production. This will become piece by piece in ready to build. Part of it will be sold to create a cash inflow and the capital gain for the company profitability. 50% circa will be brought into production. This value of this pipeline that somebody supposes just at the moment a bunch of contract, but it's a streaming instead advanced process, will be communicated soon by a special council for the evaluation of photovoltaic solar park. Next. We continue to produce electricity in Italy from fossil fuel, which constitute the bone of our daily profitability. Next. Our company, which create another opportunity, is listed in the OTC market and is based in Houston, USA, being the subsidiary of our group, Leopard Energy. Next. We continue our production in Tunisia despite the robbery that we have been subject to, and we are still maintaining a presence which will strengthen our battle in the final Exceed arbitration case on the 20th of April 2026. Next. Our team is made of very resilient and competent people. The chairman is a famous professor in Oxford and previous diplomat under Mexican law. Is a B country citizen, is Mexican and British. Dr. Dario Sodero is a geologist with all our activity in the mystery of the underground. Sergio Borowski is a Hong Kong resident with a strong experience in China, the largest, I remember, producer of photovoltaic solar panel, and our CFO, which is very strong, is a specialist in accounting and audit. Myself, I have made a life as a start as a banker. I made the first loan in history to Vietnam. And then I have recently made a book that is very much center of uranium, bringing me competence for what we are doing in this material. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Andrea. I will start off with a few questions. I just wonder, I mean, you have, are you planning to lower your operation risk by I mean, focusing on Italy and the US? Or I read that you left Azerbaijan, for instance, since you also have this struggle in Tunisia. Or how should we view your company going forward?
Well, certainly. We were before a specialist in overseas activities. We have been in Mongolia, we have been in Argentina, we have been in Congo, we have been in Tunisia, we are in Tunisia, and we have been in Azerbaijan. So these were different periods of history. as everybody in Sweden knows today, were a period in which there was the end of the Cold War, and there was a sense of globalization and peace. And then we have experienced by ourselves the risk of being suffering economically, the shareholders suffering economically. I am the largest shareholder. So together we suffer because of the lack of the respect of law in a growing number of countries overseas. So of course, it's much better to spend the activity and the energies and the endeavors of the company in countries like Sweden, which is a country that has a lot of minerals, has 25% of the uranium of Europe, and so we are very interested, for example, to take an exploration license for uranium in Sweden instead of going around the globe making a lot of risk. I remind you that the management of Zenith stayed during the COVID for 2 years in Tunisia to win this 4 field, which were an incredible victory, only to be sequestrated by the Tunisian state. So we are much happier to work in a less risky, legally place.
Yeah, I understand. When it comes to your uranium project in Italy, are you planning to move forward and sort of become a mining company in that sense, or are you looking to sell the assets, so to say?
No, you know, we remain very consequential. Uranium is an energy mineral. As you're right, it's a mine, it's not some liquid or some gases that come out of the ground. So this is a small difference in terms of strategy. Is quite a difference in terms of operation. So we have to enter in contact with engineers and geologists that are slightly different from the one that we have used for the last 17 years. But I think that the fact that uranium is becoming such a precious energy minerals make us the sense of moving into it. If we would come in 3 months saying that we want to produce copper, you may say, well, you are changing sector, but at the moment uranium is still an energy activity.
Yeah, okay. A follow-up question on Italy. You have a solar target for this year, 100 megawatt peak for in solar energy. I didn't understand when I saw your slide if you have actually reached that with the acquisition of more projects, or do you still have a little bit more to do before year end to reach your target?
No, when we started as a target, we put 20 mega.
Yeah.
And then time by time, we have done, without changing the target, we have done more and more and more. Now we have reached 110.5 mega of contracted properties and properties. So we are actually owning this property at the moment, and we are developing these properties into a solar park ready to build, and then at the moment of being ready to build, we will sell 50% and remain with the other 50% which we are bringing in construction. As you know, just last week we announced that in Puglia a lot of 3 properties has been entered in the final phase before construction.
Yeah, okay. Thank you very much, Andrea. Time flies, we don't have time for more questions. Thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, bye.